What's up, guys? This is going to be the full card breakdown for UFC Fight Night Oleinik versus Lewis. It's coming up later today, 6 o'clock start time for the prelims. Before I get into this one, and there are timestamps for anybody who wants to jump ahead, I'm going to be talking about something that I've wanted to talk about for a while now. I was actually going to do a separate video at one point, but there's too many guys out there to take all the stats and do it that way. So I'm going to do it individually. And I'm going to start out with a guy that sells bets, and usually the guys that give it out for free. I'm not really looking to target those guys. Most of them do it for the love of the sport. Same thing that I do. But the main reason that I started this channel was because I was tired of seeing a lot of the bullshit out there. And when I challenge these guys or leave a comment, checking in on some of the numbers that they were claiming, they'd erase those comments, things like that. So, this guy, he's affiliated with Wager Talk. What he does is he likes to give out the main event to either go the distance or for it to be a finish is one of his, popular bets. And then another favorite. So a lot of heavy favorites. I'd say out of 20 plays, you might have, 2 or 3 dogs at the most. But my issue with this guy is the fact that he runs from his losses, right? So he went 0-4 this past week. Probably 3 out of 4 of them were big favorites. A few weeks before that, he went 0-3. And then a few weeks before that, another 0-3. And this guy has clients. So imagine being a client of this guy. Now, I don't even know if people really buy this. I saw that it was $599 a year. I highly doubt anybody's paying that, especially for a guy that's 50-50. This guy doesn't like to talk about when he loses, but he loves to do bet review shows when he wins. So he was doing them weekly, and then when he started losing, he stopped doing them. So these are the guys you really got to watch out for. Stereotypical cappers that want to take advantage of young gamblers or guys that are on losing skids, whatever, that he can kind of pull the wool over their eyes talking some bullshit, right? But reality is, he sits there with a pen for 10 minutes, gives away some bad bets, and hopes that somebody will supplement his bad bets by paying him their hard-earned money. And any of the guys that are doing it for the love of the sport, that aren't asking for money, I'm all for supporting them. Even if you want to take his free plays, it is what it is. I'm just saying, keep your money in your pocket, use it for your bets. The truth is, the guys that are giving it away for free know the sport a lot more than guys like that. And the guys at the top right now are all the ones that are giving it away for free. If you go and look for UFC predictions, used to be a lot of guys that charge for bets and things like that. That's flipped around now, and people have realized that you don't have to pay anything to get the best bet advice. And I want to do a quick shout out to one of the guys who did take ownership for their losses this past week. His name's Clint, and he had a bad week. A lot of us did. I did. But he talked about it, broke down, what his mistakes were, and I respect that, right? So just wanted to give him a shout out. I'm going to talk about the good and the bad because last weekend I didn't have a great week, right? I did think that there was a little bit of some sketchy judging on the Munoz fight. I thought he was clearly the better fighter there, but because of the point deduction, I can understand it. Another one of the bad bets was Randy Brown. Now, the issue with Brown was he didn't fight smart. He had the tools with the jab and things like that, but it seemed like he was a little bit nervous in there, and when he put his hand down, I actually thought that was an illegal blow, but the replay showed that it wasn't. So clean win for Luque in that fight. Shabazian was another letdown. He was just too young for that spot, I think. Derek Brunson used his experience to get the job done there. And I had kept it small because of that. The line was off, but I did think Shabazian would be able to get it done, probably by TKO. Good win by Brunson there. Kind of rejuvenated his career with his last couple wins. We'll get into the fights now. First fight of the night, Youssef Zalal and Peter Barrett. So Youssef Zalal, has been really impressive since he came into the UFC. I remember in his first fight, he took on Austin Lingo. He looked really good against Lingo, looked good against Griffin, other than a bit of takedown defense issues in that fight. But, Jordan Griffin definitely put on the pressure. He was able to handle it and got the job done pretty convincingly. So I was impressed again, like I said, and I'm going to pick him again in this fight. Peter Barrett, though, is definitely probably going to come in looking to grapple here. I'm going to take Zalal to get it done by submission in the second round. Next up, we got Justin Jaynes and Gavin Tucker. So this is a really interesting fight. I was really surprised to see the line where it's at, but I do think it's because Justin Jaynes is going to be cutting weight down to 145. All of his most recent fights, I think it's the last 5, even though he is on a nice 5-fight win streak, they've all been finished in the first round. So if he has a tough weight cut, it might get rough, as the fight goes on. At the same time, though, he looked really impressive. Came in, got the finish early in the first round against Camacho in his debut. I think it was 6 days notice. I did take a small shot here, but again, because of the fact that he's cutting down, I didn't really have that much notice. I think he wanted, or he asked for an extension, and the UFC wasn't able to give it to him. So if he had that rough weight cut, like I said, second and third round might not look as good as the first. So just to be aware of that. He is a pretty good fighter. I do have respect for his skills. It's just I haven't seen enough from him. So it could be a really good fight. You know, it could even be fight of the night potential. But I'm going to go with Justin Jaynes by TKO in the first round. Then we got Andrew Sanchez and Wellington Turman. So Turman looked good in his first fight. I was actually surprised I picked against him in that one. And he beat Marcus Perez. So, you know, to come in and get a win like that. Took a loss to Carl Roberson, but it was a split decision. He actually looked pretty good in that fight as well. So he's going to look to grapple. Both of these guys are good grapplers, though, right? If anything, credentials-wise, Sanchez is better. But, you know, it could be really close. This could be a split decision. I'm definitely not interested in a bet, but I'm going to go with Wellington Turman by decision. Next up, we got Nasrat Haqparast and Alex Munoz. So Nasrat's a guy that I was pretty high on. In his last fight, I had him in a parlay. Drew Dober came in and busted that up. And I don't know why he looked to trade with Dober. He went in there, and I think he underestimated a guy with a lot of experience, and he paid for it. In this fight, Alex Munoz definitely doesn't have the experience that his last opponent had. Drew Dober, you know, has fought everybody, seen it all. But he's going to make it a tough fight. And I don't know, I'm not really comfortable where the line's at. Especially after that last loss where he got knocked out. It has been a decent amount of time since then, but you don't know where his confidence is at. You don't know where he is as far as a training camp with the COVID going on. So definitely not going to be looking to put him in a parlay, but I am going to pick him to win here. Alex Munoz, I remember watching him fight Nick Newell on the Contender Series, and Nick Newell's a tough guy. I mean, what he's been able to do, missing one of his arms, is pretty impressive. And it was still a tough fight, but he got it done pretty convincingly there. And then he actually took another fight where he picked up a win against Troy Lamson. I didn't see that fight, but overall, he does look pretty solid. So, again, this could be really close. I'm going to take Nasrat Haqparast by decision, though. Then we got Kevin Holland and Joaquin Buckley. So Kevin Holland had his fight canceled last week when Trevin Giles passed out backstage. He looked good in his last win that he picked up over Anthony Hernandez. Nasty body shot, and then finished him off on the ground. The thing about him is, you know, in some of his performances, I'm pretty sure it was Brendan Allen, he just puts himself in some compromising positions on the ground. He is really good jiu-jitsu-wise, but at the same time, you know, like I said, I just get really nervous in some of his fights. With this opponent, though, even though I think the line is a little bit blown up, when you have a foot reach advantage, and the skill advantage, it's hard to pick against Holland. So I'm definitely looking at him for the win. I'm going to say by submission in the second round, and I would consider him another parlay option, but more so when you have a line where you can kind of boost it up. I talked about this on the Bellator card the other night. You know, if there's a fight where you don't really like the line, it might be something to add on as a parlay option. Same thing with the main event, not to go the distance. And in the long run, if you bet lines like that, you won't make money, but you have to make sure it's a super confident pick. So for me, you know, I really would be surprised if Buckley got it done. Of course, you can never write anybody off, and you have to expect the unexpected, but, you know, I'm pretty confident. Next up, we got Tim Means and Loreno Staropoli. I don't really trust Tim Means at this point. He's probably the better fighter here if he hadn't taken that brutal knockout in his last fight, and then I think Nico Price KO'd him as well. So a couple fights that really make me nervous to put any money down on him. He's pretty well-rounded. He's good on the feet, but his chin's gone in my opinion. And if Strapoli catches him, you know, I could see it being another TKO situation here. So I'm staying away from it. I want to say Tim Means, but, you know, it's a tough one. I'm actually going to go with Strapoli to get it done here just because Tim Means on his last legs, but not confident. Then we got Beneil Dariush and Scott Holtzman. So this is another really interesting one. Scott Holtzman's a tough guy. He always comes to fight, has some decent power in his hands. You know, it's not that crazy knockout power, but when he connects, you know, he's definitely able to rock guys and put them in a TKO situation. So always a threat there. Beneil Dariush, you know, a really good grappler. Likes to control the fight, the pace of the fight, and if he's able to do that, he's usually able to coast to a decision or cinch up a submission. In this fight, I don't really know how it's going to go. It's a tough one to call. It's hard to bet against Dariush, though, but Holtzman is the dog. I mean, there's a bit of value there, in my opinion. I'm going to say Scott Holtzman, just because I think he's going to go for it. He might be able to catch him, but Neil Dariush is a tough guy for sure. Next up, we got Kunitskaya and Jaynes Stoliarenko. Yeah, I probably butchered that, but so Jalija's a tough girl. I watched a couple of her fights. She goes for the kill. I'm kind of surprised that the line again is so far apart here. Kunitskaya, I think the bookmakers are probably thinking that Yan is going to be able to keep her at bay with the striking and get it done by decision. And I could definitely see that happening. But at the same time, anybody who's taken a shot on Jaynes, I'm not mad at it. What I saw on tape, she does look pretty solid. She looks like she's going to be aggressive in there. She might go for the kill even more so because it's her UFC debut. A lot of it's going to depend on her cardio, in my opinion, and how long she can last at that high pace. Yan is probably just going to be on the back foot, looking to keep her away and score points. So, like I said, if she starts to fade, it's definitely going to start to lean towards Kunitskaya. I haven't decided on a bet. By the time I put out the video, depending on where the line's at, I'll have decided on that. But it is a tough one. Then we got Stewart and Pitolo. So this one's a good fight. I think that Stewart's going to have the edge just because of the experience. Both of them have decent power in their hands. I give the grappling advantage to Stewart. Pitolo got grinded out in his first fight. He looked a lot better in his last fight, though. I have to say that, against Charles Bird. He got him out of there in the second round. So this could be really good, but I do have to go with Stewart. You know, he's fought a lot higher level competition. He's probably going to be hungry for the win. Stewart didn't look great against Bartosz Fabinski, though. I actually bet on Bartosz live in that fight, and it was just a grind fest. So Mackie might actually look to grapple, but I think that Stewart would be able to keep him off and potentially catch him with a shot and get it done. So I'm going to go with Stewart by TKO in the second round. Then we got Chris Weidman and Akhmedov. So Chris Weidman looking rough in his last few fights. Knocked out by Ronaldo Souza in the third round. That one was pretty rough. And then same with Dominic Reyes, right? He got put right out in that fight. You know, that Yoel Romero flying knee really stands out to me. Whenever I think about that, it's hard for me to trust his chin. I mean, he got smoked with that knee. And ever since then, I think that changed him for the most part. So I can't pick him here. But I do think that there is some advantages, right? The only reason I can't pick him is the durability. You don't know where his head's at. I do think that he is pretty mentally strong. To even come back after the losses that he's taken and be as confident as he is definitely says something. But again, it's just hard to pick him after these losses. But I could see him getting a takedown, just using his size, you know, because he is the bigger guy, coming down to 185. So he definitely has that path to victory. But I'm going to say Akhmedov gets it done early on in the fight. I'll say TKO. Now, he's not known for that. I'm just saying, you know, I don't think Chris is durable, but I am a fan of his. That might be surprising because of how I've broken this fight down, but I'm just being honest in the way I'm thinking about it. So I'm going to say Akhmedov by TKO. Then we got the main event, Derek Lewis and Alexei Oleinik, by far the most interesting fight on the card. Derek Lewis has a huge hole in his game as far as grappling, in my opinion. I picked Latifi to win the last fight, and he just held Lewis against the cage and controlled him for the most part. But he was at home, I believe, in that fight, and they robbed Latifi. Previous to that, Daniel Cormier ragdolled him and got it done quick. But I will say some of the most impressive get-ups I've ever seen at heavyweight are from Derek Lewis. I forget what fight it was, where he was on his back. I think he was even locked up in a Kimura. And he somehow sprung off his back multiple times in the same fight. It was shocking. I'll be honest. I thought, okay, he's done here in these positions. And he does spring back to his feet. So that coupled with his size, he's going to be a lot bigger than Oleinik. He's going to be stronger. That's a threat. But if Oleinik can get him in a compromising position, because he's not the most athletic guy, Derek Lewis, right? He looks really awkward in there. And as much power as he packs, if he can't get that KO early, it's going to go to Oleinik. And he's a strong grappler. He's not looking to exchange. He throws winging shots that can do damage if they connect, but he's definitely not known for his striking. And he has got guys like Mark Hunt with submissions, right? Another guy who packs a lot of power, and nobody thought that Oleinik was going to win that fight. I bet him in that fight. And I'm going to take him in this one. So I'm going to say Oleinik gets it done by submission in the first round. A lot of people are going to be surprised by that. I mean, it could be a later submission, second or third, but Oleinik gets tired as well, right? He doesn't have great cardio. So I'm going to pull up the bets now, though. So again, some parlay options and a couple dogs. Still looking at the women's fight there. I'll probably have a couple props for over and under. But that's about it, guys. Let me know who you have. It isn't a bad card for betting. There's a few spots on here that look pretty decent, so I'm sure a lot of you guys will have some bets this week. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.